I went from being beat to start beating people up. And usually I fought guys. And then, so life was getting really crazy. So I came from a family of alcoholism. And in my house, my mom, my first mom, birth mom, was an alcoholic. And then she left us as children. And then my dad married another alcoholic who sat in a chair and drank and took prescription drugs all day. And I was the mom. And so as I was growing up, she started giving me pills. And I was driving her around when I was 14, and she wanted me to drink with her, so I started drinking. And then 15, I was working and then drinking. And then 16, I was, raising her and the kids and drinking.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so I moved out, and then I got pregnant. So I didn't drink. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I said, I'm not drinking. And so then, so I got pregnant, and then that dad didn't want the baby, so I left him. And then I moved out on my own, and I was working and raising my baby. And then I met an alcoholic. And then so he drank enough for everyone, so I didn't need to drink. I still didn't know I was an alcoholic or that it was in my genes. And then so I got pregnant again, and then I got married, and then I got pregnant. And then I had 2 kids, and I was married to a chronic alcoholic. And he was an Indian that drank whiskey. And I got abused, I was a battered woman. And then at about 23, I decided my life sucks. I don't want a part of that. And so then I thought about divorce. So I went down and I got a separation, legal separation. And then he just kept bothering me. So I kept throwing him in jail. And then I moved. And so I started seeing another alcoholic. It's all crazy. But, and then, so I always worked 2 jobs and supported my kids by myself. So then I decided to get a job at a bar. Well, there's where my drinking started. So I got, finally, after 3 years of going to court, I got a divorce.
Mm-hmm.
So then, and then when I was dating this guy was an alcoholic, he said I can't get a job at a bar. So I did. So when I was working at the bar, my boss was giving me all the alcohol I wanted. And I drank beer. And then so I was drinking out my job and waiting tables at my work. And then at the end of the night, I would bring a couple cases of beer home. And probably the first year or 2, I was handling it, not drinking all the time. I worked at the bar Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. And then somewhere in the next couple of years, it started getting out of control. And then I was having parties at my house, going to parties. Then my life was being consumed by alcohol.
Yeah.
And then the next couple of years, it got kind of crazy where I was still in physical fighting. I went from being beat to start beating people up. And usually I fought guys. And then, so life was getting really crazy. And then I thought, what a life, you know. And then I started still working at that bar. I drove drunk, and the cops stopped me, and I was like, hey, I got to drink and drive because I got to drink at work and I got to drive, you know. And so the cops were like, no, you can't drink and drive. So I got my first DWI, and then and I got arrested. And then my brother bailed me out of jail. My brother was an alcoholic, and my brother bailed me out of jail. And then I was thinking, it was like, this is crazy, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Abby. So then I was getting ready for a party, and I'd only had a 6-pack, and I was driving a truck that the brakes was not good. And so I'm flying up on this corner because I'm in a hurry. I got to go get dressed to go to the bar. So, and I crashed, and I smashed into this brand new pickup, and got arrested again and went to jail. Wrecked my truck, and then I was just like, you know, at that point where my mind was so sick, I was just like, this is life, you know, it happens. I kept saying that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was telling the cop, I haven't had very much drink. I only had 6-pack. He's like, well, you're over the legal limits, you know. You're getting a DWI. So there goes my second DWI. So then, then I didn't know it, but I still had my driver's license on my person.
Mm-hmm.
But he called him in, and they had been revoked. He goes, you can't drive on a revoked. That's jail time, too. I'm like, you go to jail for driving on a revoked? Because, I mean, mentally I was sick. You know, alcoholism, my thinking was insane at that time. Because I'm thinking that's just life and it's all normal, but that ain't. So then I want to say 2 weeks later, I got another DWI. This is DWI 2 in Missouri and 1 in Arkansas. And I'm thinking, okay, this is crazy. Well, one of the things I looked back, when they was pulling me out of the car, I looked back at my daughter's face. And I mean, just devastating look on her face. And she was like 6, 7. She wasn't very old. And they're taking me to jail, and I'm like, what's going to happen to my kids, you know? Because I'm the sole supporter of my children. But I'm still working. I'm still making the bills. I'm still functioning. You know, still being the mom and everything. So my dad gets my kids. And then I get out of jail. Where in Arkansas, I didn't get out of jail this time. I was in jail for, it seemed like a long time. But this time I was so drunk, they threw me in the drunk tank for like 10 hours or something. And then they made me dress out and get in the real jail. And then my dad was on the outside trying to get me out, and I was on the inside trying to get out, but they wouldn't let me out.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, I got kids. I need out of jail to take care of my kids, you know. And finally, they let me go. My dad bailed me out, I think $200 bail. And then they said I can't drive. And I'm like, I have to drive. I have kids. I mean, that's where my thought was. My thinking was just crazy insane. And so I kept driving. I got arrested for driving on revoked. And then, so I'm sitting here at night, and I'm thinking, this is crazy. I'm thinking, this is a crazy life. I mean, how'd I get here? You know, I got to get out of here, but I didn't know how to do it. And so I'm thinking, well, I better go to AA because the cops are going to send me the AA. The judge is going to force me to AA anyway.
Yeah.
And I only knew about AA because my birth mom, who left, they said she was in AA. Well, it kind of looked crazy. Her AA looked kind of crazy to me, but I was like, okay, I'm going to go have my own experience. So I started into AA. And
so just pause for a second. At this point, did you believe that you had a problem?
No. Nope. 13 times arrested, in Iraq, in barroom brawls, packing a gun. I was not an alcoholic. It's insane. It's a mental condition. My brother only drank alcohol all day long. My ex-husband only drank alcohol all day long. They stayed drunk, intoxicated all the time, could not function. That wasn't me. I went to work. I had my own company in the daytime. I went to work. I never drank. Mm-hmm. I would go to the bar where I worked. Then I would start drinking. I would drink till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, go home, literally pass out. I'd be up in time to get my kids up off to school and go to work. I'd come home, make dinner, clean my house, pay my bills, and then go to the bar. I had a live-in babysitter. This lady only made $3.20 a month, so I moved her in with me. I said, if you babysit my kids, help me cook and clean, then I'll just support you. Mm-hmm. So I supported her. I was making very good money between the bar and my daytime job, and had 10 cars in the yard, had a nice place, and my kids had everything they needed. They were well taken care of. So there, I didn't think I was an alcoholic, because that's what I thought an alcoholic was, is my brother and my husband, or the drunk under the bridge in a paper bag.
Yeah.
A bottle in a bag, bumming money. That's what I thought an alcoholic was. And so when I started into AA, I heard stuff about God. And I was like, I knew there was a God, but I didn't think God wanted anything to do with me, because I didn't think he would approve the way I was living. And so they kept saying, you got to get a higher power. You got to get something more powerful than you. Well, I remember the night that I couldn't get out of jail. I kept thinking back to that night going, if there was a God, why didn't he get me out of jail? Or I'd say, but I remember thinking, if something's more powerful than me, because at this point, I'm so sick, nothing's more powerful than me. I'm the most powerful person in the world. I'm a woman packing a gun that can beat anybody up. That's powerful, right? So they just kept saying that. So I tried to not drink. And so I'd go like 18 days trying it the AA way. And I'm like, something had happened. Like, okay, the school called. My daughter wasn't in school, so I'm going to jail. Well, I had to get drunk. So then we go to court, and there's where I seen my ex-old man. They invited him to court. I didn't even know. And the judge is like, we're putting you in jail. And I'm like, put him in jail. I said, I'm sitting here raising the kids, supporting them by myself. He ain't doing nothing but drinking. Put him in jail. And the judge is just like, so, wait, I got to back up. So in AA, people's coming up to me, and this one guy's like, I can't, you can, and I think I'll let him. I'm like, what kind of language is that? I don't understand that. And so then this other guy comes up to me, and he goes, are you in any kind of legal trouble? And I'm like, a little bit. Wasn't a lot. And he's like, do you need a lawyer? And I'm like, probably, I don't know. I don't care at this point. Yeah. And then I go to court, and the judge says I'm going to go to jail. And I'm like, I can't go to jail. I have kids. He goes, so does everybody else in jail. And so I go back to AA, and I tell this guy, I say, hey, how much money would it cost me to hire you to do whatever? I didn't even know how much trouble I was in. I had no idea. And he's like, what do you do for a living? And I said, I clean houses. He's like, how about if you clean my house? He had a 3-story mansion. And he's like, what about if you clean my house, and I'll, deal with your legal problems? So I'm like, okay, it's a deal. So I go show up at his house 3 times a week, clean his top to bottom house. He shows up with me always at court. And so then, I'm like, I say to him, he's a recovering alcoholic too, so he's like, so are you going to get this thing? And I go, how the hell do you stay sober? You know, because this guy's got many years sobriety. And I was like, he's like, just don't drink and come to meetings even if your ass falls off. And I was like, I didn't understand that either, but I said, I'm trying not to drink. And so then he's like, and then, you know, something like my kids, I go to work and my kid, and I get called at work, and then they're going to put me in jail because my daughter's not going to school. Well, I'm sending her to work. I mean to school. But she's not getting on the bus. She's cruising around Bentonville. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Then I moved to a dry county so I wouldn't drink. So then I found Tony C's, which is bar. And so I would get like 22 days, and some, you know, cop would call my house, and I just broke out and drunk. And then I'd go back to AA, and I was like, how do you guys stay sober? And they're like, Abby. And they're like, just don't drink if your ass falls off. And then, so one night in AA, I heard this lady say, she said, well, there wasn't enough alcohol in the world for me. I moved to a dry county. By now my kids are teenagers, so they get a driver's license so they can drive me around. And so then so they're driving me to work and driving me everywhere. And so I'm going to court, and this lawyer is doing amazing. And I thought I would clean his house forever. And then so I get a call. I got to go to court because my daughter's not going to school, and the school's going to take me to court. And then, so I call up my lawyer, and he's like, I don't handle that kind of stuff. And so then when I went to court, and I'm they're going to sentence me about it, and then the judge says, I'm going to give you a $10,000 fine and 10 years in jail. Well, then their dad walks in, and so I said to the judge, I said, look, I'm trying to get sober, and I'm doing everything I can, and I'm working, and I got to pay a lot of money to fines, and I'm working 2 jobs, and I'm taking care of the kids by myself with no child support from him, so put him in jail. And then the judge goes, I'm going to give you a lawyer pro bono. Well, this lawyer's wife was an Al-Anon, which is a family, friends and family of alcoholics. So she didn't like me. And so then the judge goes, you be her lawyer. So she's got to be my lawyer. She don't like me. And she's the lawyer over the school only part. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't get a good education because I was raising my siblings. And so then I heard there was this homeschool. And so I said, well, I'm going to homeschool my kids. And she goes, you can't do that. You only got a 3rd grade education. And I was like, you're my lawyer, and everything's confidential, and you can't tell the judge I only got a 3rd grade education. And this is the curriculum I'm going to use. And my youngest daughter was a genius, so she lays out all the curriculum that I'm going to use in my school. And so I think it's physical, so I bring a bunch of books to court, and I brought the Bible because my daughter got through out of school because she carried a Bible. And so, and because she wouldn't go to school because they wouldn't let her carry her Bible. And so the lawyer told me to sit in the hallway, and then she goes in there, and she comes out, and she's like, there, screw up your kids if you want. You can homeschool. You're not in trouble. So by the grace of God, I got all that one, but I still didn't understand God. God was working all over town for me, but I didn't know it. And then so this lawyer, I'm like, why am I still getting in trouble? And he goes, how long did you drink? And I said, 6 years. And he goes, so then you probably got about 18 years of trouble to get out of. And I didn't understand that. And I was like, but I'm being good. I'm trying to not drink, and people are making me drink. That's what I thought at that time. So he's like, just don't drink. And so I go to court, and then he said, don't give Arkansas your Missouri driver's license. I still had my physical driver's license. And so the judge kept saying, we're going to take your driver's license. And I was like, I don't give a flip. And I threw my driver's license in the judge's face. And my lawyer's like, I'm doing all I can to help you, but you're not helping yourself. And so, and then he's like, well, I think we need to put your attitude in jail for about 5 years. And I said, I can't go to jail. Nobody can take care of my kids. Thinking nobody can take care of my kids. You know, that's insane. So then, so I go back to AA, and I'm honestly trying to listen to these people. But now I'm getting mad because I dealt with a lot of anger from my childhood, a lot of anger from my marriage, a lot of anger from being beat, a lot of resentment from having to raise my kids by myself with no help from their dad, no money, I was doing it all myself, juggling the whole world while raising billions of kids and my own children, and I'm thinking, I'm getting buried by life, and I want to really kick its butt, but I don't know how. So I'm like, somehow, and my family's like, well, use your willpower. Well, I'm here to tell you today, willpower cannot get you sober, because I tried. So I hear this in AA says, pray to a higher power to keep you sober just today. And I was thinking, what the hell? I got the whole world to look at, my whole life in front of me, and they want me to pay attention to today? And I didn't understand that. Well, then the state of Arkansas sentenced me to counseling, which I greatly needed. And so when I go to counseling, the guy's like, just pay attention to right here, right now. I was thinking, because I was looking at a big life, a whole world of pictures. I'm responsible for these 2 children, don't have a clue about me and the whole world. And so far, the world gave me a lot of shitty crap and pain. Yeah. So, I was like, I don't want no more of this, so now what? So then I go back to AA meeting, and I heard, just get down on your knees and pray to something more powerful than you. Still thinking, is there something more powerful than me? I was like, okay, what I'm doing ain't working. I've got to do something different. I said, the state's about to take my children. That was my world. And, they're all blaming it on me, and I got to do something different. So, honestly, I looked at it like I'm doing my dangest to stay sober and still getting shit. The world is shit. That's where I was thinking.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, maybe I can use willpower and try a little harder. But all the trying in the world. Then my ex-boyfriend shows up at my house on his birthday with a case of beer. So now I'm mad. I'm mad again. And, I just got my license took. I'm going to go to jail. So I'm like, F it. Let's get drunk. So I grabbed a beer and I chugged it. And I was thinking, this is freaking stupid. This is how I got here. And so I threw the beer in the sink and kicked him out. And I was like, this is going to be the day that I don't drink no more. And so then I put my kids to bed. It was about 10 o'clock. So then about 11 o'clock, I start hearing these noises. Well, alcohol's a depressant, and it also makes you paranoid. It's weird. So I started hearing these noises. Well, I only drank 1 beer, and before that, it was like 22 days since I drank. So I was like, it can't be the beer. What the heck is it? And so what I looked at it like is there was noise, but there was no reason for the noise and stuff like that. So I was trying to get the spiritual program. So I thought, this has got to be the devil. I'm fighting the devil because the devil's going to lose my soul and God's going to get it. So I was like, this is the devil. Okay? So now I got to kick alcohol's butt and the devil's butt. You know? So I'm like, so I, about a half an hour before that point, I was thinking back, what did I just do? So I went into my bedroom and I got down on my knees and I was like, God, or whatever you are of the universe, if you're more powerful than me, keep me sober. And, you know, whatever's out there. Because where I was at the end of my ropes. You know, I was a slave to alcohol. It had power over me, and I didn't want that. So I was like, if it has power over me, maybe something else can have power over me, but I got to get out of myself. Mm-hmm. What I really did was surrender. Just stop fighting. But I didn't know it at that time. So then here comes the devil. And I look out. So at 11 o'clock, weird stuff started happening. And so now I'm screaming in my house like a crazy lady. I'm like, get out of here. I don't need you, devil. And, you know, freaking out. And then that was about till 7 o'clock. It was about daybreak. And I look out the window and I see a cross out the window. It's like, I lived here 6 months and never seen that cross right across the street. So I was like, okay. So I walked in my oldest daughter's bedroom. She's 13 and she's drawing pencil sketches of the devil. Whoa. So I was like, okay, the devil's got my kid, so I gotta save her. So I walk over to that church and I ask, still insane, I ask a preacher to go in my daughter's bedroom, 13 years old, to save her. And he's like, well, my insurance won't even let me do that. You know, and he's just freaking out. And I was thinking, yeah, that's kind of insane. But what really happened after 3 hours of this preacher talking to me, I got saved. So my daughter's mad at me. She's like, don't shove God down my throat and everything. But I'm trying to learn about God. Mm-hmm. I agree to go to church for the first time in my life. So then I go back to AA. And I stand up and I'm thinking, I've tried everything else. Who gives a crap? So I'm like, I stand up and I'm like, I'm an effing alcoholic. And everybody claps. I'm like, what the hell? And because I've been sitting on the back row not talking forever. Mm-hmm. And so they're like, now you're getting somewhere. And I'm thinking, whatever. I still don't believe I'm an alcoholic. Still don't believe it. And so this little young lady comes up to me and she's like, I'm going to be your sponsor. I'm like, what the hell's a sponsor? She goes, I'm going to tell you what to do and you're going to do it. And I'm like, what the hell if I am? And so then she's like, well, go home and read your book. And I said, I can't read. She goes, for real? And I go, I can't read. I don't have an education. And so she gives me a big book and never seen it before in my life. It's called Alcoholics Anonymous. And so I open it up and there's words I never seen in my life. I was like, well, I'm going to die because I can't read this book. And so I go home and she sneaks to my house because I was so freaking mean. Nobody even wanted to talk to me. She puts a dictionary in my book in my door before I wake up. And she's like, I was like, what the hell? I can't read. What's a dictionary going to do? So my daughter's like, Mom, I'll help you. My genius daughter again, who is now an alcoholic. So she says, well, just sound these words out, you know, in the dictionary, and then I'll read to you what they mean. So we did that, and it was like 48 hours. Somebody throws a newspaper at my door and I'm just reading it like I never, you know, I was just like thirsty, like, oh my God, I'm reading everything. Well, that I knew was God because I just opened my heart and wanted this so bad because I knew I had to read to be able to get sober, or I thought. So I'm reading everything, and like a kid in a candy store, I'm just like, well, yay, look at me, I'm reading, you know. Well, that was God doing for me what I couldn't do for myself. So I'm reading these words, I have no idea what the heck they are in this book. So then I'm doing what these people say in AA. They're like, just take the first step. Well, this old man that kept coming in my face going, I can, he can, I think I'll let him. I said, what? Explain to me why you keep saying that to me. He's like, I can't. Can you stay sober by yourself? I go, no. He goes, he can. God can keep you sober every day. He goes, surrender and let him. I was like, oh, that's simple. So they're saying things like one day at a time, and I'm like, who lives one day at a time? You know, and they're saying things like this, and I'm like, I don't know this stuff, so just learn it, you know. So then I start working the steps, you know, and start doing this work. I'm cleaning up the wreckage of my past because it's going to kick my butt if I don't. So I'm doing all these steps and going to meetings and everything, and then I'm working with my dad on a roof one day, and I go, I got to go to a meeting. And my dad's like, my dad didn't believe in any of this. And he said, first you used drinking as a crutch, now you're going to meetings as a crutch? I said, I'll be back in 1 hour. So I go to a meeting. So about 2 years into counseling and 2 years into AA, I go to my dad, who don't believe in anything, and says, Dad, remember all them times I say I need counseling? Now is counseling doing me good? Now look at my life. Now is AA good? And he's like, it's changing you and it's working for you. He said, keep going. And 2 years later, my dad asked me about God. He goes, how do you talk to God? I said, God will take care of you. God is your father. God runs my life. This little old lady called me her miracle. And I was like, I don't feel like a miracle. And she said, you're a miracle. You are a miracle. Well, then 7 years into it, I'm into this church, and they asked me to teach the children. That's a miracle. I'm like, did they know I came from jail? You know, and they know, you know, I've been totally honest with my whole life, and I'm thinking, God took a drunk out of jail and made her a teacher of children. That's a miracle. So it's kind of like all I had to do is be willing and take that first step. And then God took the next 99 and paved the way for my whole life, you know.
Yeah.
And then I got a whole different way of life just because I was willing to go to AA to try something different, you know. And then I took one of them 24-hour trips, and I thought that was magic because then I didn't drink again, you know.
Yeah.
And then I just kept going to AA, kept helping others. I could help others forever and not get the blessings that I got out of AA, but all I do is what I'm showed. You know, a girl needed a book today, I bought her a book. You know, they bought me a book when I got there. They helped me out. It's a we program. We can't stay sober by ourselves.
Yeah.
God can keep us sober, and we all do it together. So that's what the AA program is. And we're all miracles. We're all walking miracles. You know, our disease is still there doing push-ups. It's patient. It's still waiting for us to pick up that first drink.
Yeah.
It would be off and running if I ever picked up that first drink, you know. But here's 28 years later, you know, I still don't drink. One day at a time, I don't drink. I just don't drink, you know.
Yeah.
Still, God keeps me sober. Still, God, you know, shows me a new way of life, you know. Now I've been 20 years in Unity, and it's a spiritual path. You know, I started out in a Baptist church getting screamed at and spit on by this preacher who was shoving his mad God down my throat, and I moved away from there. My sponsor invited me to her church. I went to her church about 20 some odd years ago and felt the love, just like AA. I feel the love. I feel the people. We are all the same kind of people. Well, another thing I learned in AA, when I was reading that book and studying that book, I got me a speakers meeting, a book study, and a discussion meeting. We discuss what we're going through, what we're going to do about it, like how it was, how it is what happened and how it is now.
Mm-hmm.
So I seen in that book, there's stages of alcoholism. So the stage I was in, where I was burning alive, was a functioning alcoholic. I got off the elevator before I got to the chronic alcoholic who's dying, who still can get sober. It happens all the time. Now, as hard as I had to, I'd hate to have to go down more, but, and another thing is, just because I'm sober don't mean my disease ain't doing push-ups waiting for me to come back to it.
Mm-hmm.
It don't mean that the devil don't want to wake me up and take me over again. But I look at it like it was in my genes. It was bound to happen. Thank God I only stayed there for 6 years. I got in enough trouble to get the heck out of there.
Yeah.
You know, and then, you know, and my brother and my ex-husband still drunk today. How they're not dead, I don't know. But then in the book, it tells like alcoholic 1, alcoholic 2, alcoholic 3, alcoholic 4. That's the stages of alcoholism. And then some reason it hits women way faster than guys. So my mom drank for 6 years and she lost one of her kidneys and they took half of her liver. She drank half of her liver away. And her experience with AA is not my experience. We all have our own paths to recovery.
Yeah.
And she's 48 years in the program now, but she's not drinking. So that's good.
Yeah.
But I choose a spiritual path where AA is a spiritual program for me, and so is my church spiritual. So instead of trying to make everything different and difficult, it all runs the same. God knows where I'm going. And then 13 years ago, I was having a lot of problems with my family because they're drunks and drug addicts.
Mm-hmm.
So I started in Al-Anon. And Al-Anon has served me well with other people. So I say, I went to AA for me. I go to Al-Anon to live in the world.
Do you still have days where you feel like drinking?
No. Some people do, but the reason I don't is because I remember that 28 hours in Benton County. I remember a lot of things I put myself through.
Mm-hmm.
Now I look at it like I was sick and insane, and now I have sane thinking. And I live one day at a time. You know, then I was looking at, oh my God, you know, when my kids was teenagers, I thought either I'm going to kill them or they're going to kill me. You know, it was too hard. I was making it difficult in my insane thinking. Today I have sane thinking where I'm like, it's okay. And I got tools of the program. This too shall pass. Nothing stays the same.
Yeah.
Time tells everything. I learned a lot in AA and Al-Anon where I have tools now that I can use. In the beginning, you know, I dreamed of alcohol and I would have nightmares about being in the bar, thinking I was drinking again and stuff like that. But as I put more 24 hours ahead of me than that, you know, probably the first 90 days was a great big struggle.
Yeah.
And the first 3 years was very difficult. But after that, I was like, you know, now I'm two things, I think. Thank God I drank because it got me where I'm at. And what the heck was I thinking? Living a life like that. Because that's where I came from. So, and I tell people, you know, you raise above your, if you don't like your life and your childhood, raise above it.
Mm-hmm.
You can do better, you know. And actually the world is just, you can do whatever the heck you want, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, and I get up, I do my readings. This is how I run my 24-hour program. I get up, I do my readings, I pray to God. Some days I still say, God, keep me sober today, because I know He's got that power. Left to my own device, I still don't have the power to stay sober. It's real simple. Don't take the first drink. First drink is what gets you drunk.
Yeah.
You know, because once we take a drink, we can't stop. And then we end up in jail and wonder how we got there.
Yeah.
You know, and another thing that I learned was, you know, don't take everything so dang serious. You know, I mean, this too will change. Everything changes. You know, don't take everything so serious. You know, and sometimes you don't even have to do something. I was a doer. I thought I had to do something about everything. I don't have to do nothing most of the time. My problems are ironed out. You know, I just, and then at night when I go to bed, is there anybody I've harmed today? Is there anything I've done wrong today? How did I live today? And, you know, through the day, is there another alcoholic I can help, or even another person?
Yeah.
Can I do something for someone else? You know, when I try to if I get so much in myself, I get out of myself. You know, because God already helped me, so I get to help others. And, you know, that's the way AA works, but that's really the way the world works, you know, because unity is, we're all the same. I'm no better than that drunk under the bridge with no money and no house.
Yeah. Neither am I.
You know, I mean, Sam Walton's kids ain't no better than me. You know, I mean, it's just like we're all God's children. That's the way I believe. I just had to change my thinking, change my life.
Yeah.
You know, it's and keep it simple. I mean, we got a saying in Al-Anon, keep it simple, stupid. You don't have to be, because an alcoholic's mind will analyze stuff to death, you know. But I notice if I get, you know, agitated or upset or something, it's me. I got 50% of anything, you know.
Yeah.
And if that don't work, I can change my way to look at it. It's not what happens. It's what I think about what happens. Because that alcoholism is still in there. It's still there. I mean, there's a lot of difference between a practicing alcoholic and a recovering alcoholic. And all I got to do is one day at a time choose to stay a recovering alcoholic. You know, and then there's some people, for whatever reason they think, they get 20, 30 years and they pick up the drink and they're gone again. You know, and the hardest time I had to get sober, I do not want to go through that again.
Yeah.
You know, and I know I'd be gone in a minute. I've had friends that's picked up a drink and they're gone and dead in 24 hours. And it's like, God, that's not a good choice.
And I know what I've seen with addiction is that if you've been clean for a while, that's just going to make it that much worse if you do take that first step. You're going to go farther than you would have otherwise, probably.
Yeah.
And that's why it kills people.
Yeah. It's a deadly disease. And way back, you know, when I started, there was only 2 meetings in town. You know, now there's meetings all over. In fact, I started a meeting right here in Bentonville. And there's meetings all over now. And there's chips for every month. There wasn't even that many chips or anything. And I always say, you know, today I got the problem of I don't want a pat on the back. I don't want to feed my pride. You know, if somebody says, well, you did so great. No, I didn't. God did, you know. And I just give him everything. In fact, my sponsor's like, you got to take some credit for something. No, that's his, you know. God pulled me out of the pits of hell and set me on a path. And I belong to him. I'm his miracle, you know. And I wake up some mornings, I'm like, God, put someone in my path I can help today.
Yeah.
You know, what is it that you want me to do today? Your will, not mine, be done. I say all them prayers, and I read Jesus Calling. You know, it's a little message that gets in my head and starts off my day. And I can go through crazy things like my work, you know. Okay, this is just 8 hours, you know. It's not forever.
Yeah.
You know, so I can kind of go through whatever it is, you know. And I even give myself little messages at work, like right here, right now. You know, if something around me is getting crazy, I can be in a spirit of peace in the midst of crazy. Because sometimes the world gets crazy. The pandemic gets crazy, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm just like, I'm in the world, but not of the world, you know. So God could pull me right out of there and set me on another path, you know. So I, you know, say, like, I break out in songs at work when something is getting in my head too much. I'll just go, you know, I'll just go, just another manic Monday, you know, to get my head on another path.
Yeah.
You know, I just, because I learned this, my head was doing the same thing. It's like playing a tape over and over and over again. There was a trauma that happened in my life after I'd gotten sober, and my head just kept playing, and I got so tired of my head. Because you can't think yourself out of stuff.
Yeah.
Believe me, I've tried.
Yeah.
So my head's just going over and over, and it's killing my loved ones, you know, and you know, one of my loved ones are dying, and my head's just playing this tape like I'm responsible and I got to do something, and oh my God, I got to save their life and everything. And I just woke up one morning and I'd had it. I was like, brain, stop. And I just screamed. I was like, good morning, God. You know, like the guy does, good morning, Vietnam.
Yeah.
I thought about that, and I was like, good morning, God. And it just stopped. And it was still. And it's like, wow, that works. So I do that sometimes.
Have you ever heard the term thought stopping in your counseling?
Thought stopping?
Yeah. That's basically what that is. One thing that people do for thought stopping is you've probably seen somebody with this. They'll have like a rubber band around their wrist, and they'll just snap it.
Snap it. Yeah. And it'll thought.
Yeah, that's basically the same thing.
Yeah, because I mean, our minds ain't that much different than any minds. You know, we have like, what is it, 100,000 thoughts a day? Everybody does.
Yeah.
But we're sensitive people. We take everything to the extreme and personal, you know. And I met this guy that shot people in the bar for thinking he knew what they was thinking. I was like, wow, he takes lives because he knows what they're thinking. And, you know, and I started in, you know, I learned some stuff in counseling, like the craziest place in the world to go is in someone else's thinking, because there's no way we can know what other people's thinking.
Yeah.
You know, that's crazy. And, you know, then on the friends that I travel together with, you know, we don't all go crazy out the same day. So we can pull each other on crazy, you know. So I tell on myself, you know, this is what my head's thinking. Well, that's crazy, you know. So we help each other think differently, you know. Well, don't think that, you know, or something like that, you know. I mean, way back when nobody could tell me what to do, now I have a spiritual preacher tells me what to do. I have Al-Anon sponsor, or AA sponsor, you know. I get guidance from a lot of spiritual people today, you know, and mostly God. God runs my life, you know. God puts thoughts in my head. He puts happiness in my heart, you know. And, you know, and if I have a bad day today, I got another chance tomorrow. When I was self-employed, I used to run home and regroup. You know, I'd go, let's read some stuff and get out of my head. Because my head is the problem. You know, it's not everything that's a problem.
Yeah.
But then in Al-Anon, it teaches you 50% is my problem. You know, I can have somebody sitting here going postal on me in my face. It's not my problem until I open my mouth. It's their problem. And I just think, do you know how stupid you look? You know, it's their behavior. I don't have to take it on. I even learned how to not argue with someone.
Yeah.
I refuse to argue. People, you know, want to put their crap on you. And I learned when I was learning AA or Al-Anon, I was like, put a piece of plexiglass here. You know, your crap can't spill on me if there's a piece of plexiglass here, you know.
Takes two people to have an argument.
Yep. You know, it's all I do is I just don't participate, you know.
Yeah.
I had a very argumentative brother that I took care of a lot, and he was always trying to argue. And it just throwed him in a whole nother dimension because I would not argue with him. And he would just scream, sis, you know I'm right. You got to think the way I do. And I was thinking, But I start thinking, I can think different. I can kind of like control my thinking most days. So I'm just like, he'll pick something to argue with me about, like my kids.
Yeah.
That's a hook. So I got to say, I don't care what he thinks.
Yeah.
Or I got to go, not today, or have a nice day, And then I just like, I even can tell myself, that is one sick mofo,
Yeah.
I just kind of use my thoughts and tell my own self something or say something. Because and I've noticed, so when I first go there, it's easier to get out of there. But if I get mad and feed into it, the longer I'm there, the more it's like jumping, like testing the water. If you just stick your toe in it, you're okay. But if you dive in that, then you're sunk.
Yeah.
And that's why on the night I do my 11th step, going, where, did I harm anybody today? Do I owe anybody an amends? And I'm quick to say I'm wrong. I'm quick to make amends where I need to. The hardest thing I have to do today is with my children, because the other humanoids don't matter. I choose to have a relationship with my children, and they are sick. They're not in recovery, so that's mostly what I say to myself.
Yeah.
I'm grateful, I'm blessed, and I'm recovered, because not everybody is. But today, what I like is there is literally thousands of alcoholics recovered. It's like spreading like the pandemic.
Yeah.
It's awesome. There's all sorts of meetings. I mean, now we go online, we get meetings all the time. I could be in Hawaii in a meeting.
Yeah.
It's just like awesome. The internet's took it to a whole new level. And now, drug addicts, it's coming, where like about 12 years ago, they didn't even have an NA meeting. Now they have NA meetings, and now people's getting clean, and they're recovering, and their life is getting awesome and everything, And I just kind of look at it like life, I believe, has two paths, and everybody don't believe the way I believe, and it's okay the way they believe. But I believe I was on a slow train to hell, and I jumped off that train, and now I'm on a fast plane to heaven. So I took this was a low road, and now I'm on the high road. And I don't know where God's taking me tomorrow, but he's doing great today. So as long as I stay out of my own way and let God do his work through me, tomorrow's going to be great. So
earlier, when you were trying to quit alcohol, what did you do when the desire to use came?
The first couple of years that I got sober, there's a lot of blank spots in that I don't remember. But I didn't know that I had tools in AA, and that there was 230 promises in the book. God put two sick alcoholics together to write the story. Back in 1935, he put two alcoholics in a hospital room to write the program.
Yeah.
And he knew it's going to help millions later, but I didn't know to pick up the phone. I didn't know all that stuff. I had to learn all that.
Yeah.
And, sometimes I would sit there in my house and it felt like I was so mad I would bite it. I could bite a nail in half. And I didn't know where that anger was coming from. I had no idea what to do with it, And in the program I learned, God gives you feelings. God gives you anger for a reason. God gives you sadness. God gives you happiness. He gives you all these, but we got to figure out what to do with them. Is there a point to anger? I was so mad, I was lashing out at other people, poor souls, I was just like, and now I see somebody angry and I just pray for them. I'm like, wow. But I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
So it would be building up day by day by day. And, 22 days I'd had it. So I just went out and got drunk. And I was like, damn it. Sorrow and remorse and all this set in. I was like, man, I had 22 days, And I tell people today, some people think you just walk through the door and magically get sober. It does not work that way. It's a process.
Yeah.
And that little old lady that kept saying I was a miracle, she died, passed away sober. A lot of my friends have died sober. And she passed away, and on her deathbed when I went and seen her, she goes, now do you believe you're a miracle? She knew I was sick and everything, and she knew I was a miracle, but I didn't.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really hard to see things from an outsider's perspective.
Yeah. And I honestly didn't know what to do, so I was doing my best, and I was getting mad at myself because I get 22 days or 18 days or, and I was like, why can't I get this, Because, back again, my thinking was I'm the most powerful thing. But when I realized this 12-ounce can of beer was more powerful than me, I don't think I had as much time believing that God did love me, that God wanted a relationship with me, that he was more powerful than me. But I didn't look at my world as a lost sinner, I guess you could say, drinking cans of poison, because that's what it was to me.
Yeah.
I was like, my head was in a fog, and everybody did everything to me, poor me, I was a victim, and it was just like my perspective of life was crap, because I'd gotten crap. That's what life was to me, is one big crap,
Yeah.
But, I'm not a victim today. And today I'm a miracle. And, nobody can do anything to me.
Yeah.
I do stuff to myself.
Yeah.
And I learn along the way.
Yeah.
And God is more powerful than me. God made the world. God made our bodies so awesome. A person can drink their liver beyond, just like into a green mess. And if they stop drinking, it heals. I didn't drink hard liquor, so I didn't hurt my body drinking. But my head was just like insane, crazy.
Yeah.
In this short amount of time. Because I know when I went to jail, I thought, who are they arresting me for driving drunk? But today I'm thinking, oh my God, a drunk driver could kill. The worst,
yeah.
A drunk driver, it's like, are you kidding me? You're driving drunk?
Yeah.
But it's sad, like all these people are in jail, like we was just talking about. They're sick people. But their sickness made them break the law, so the cops are doing their job, trying to keep everybody safe. So they got to put them in jail, Yeah, I deserved going to jail and no driver's license. I should have never been on the road. Thank God, and I didn't kill nobody,
Yeah.
or myself, or my children. I drove my children, you know. Thank God they're alive, But yeah, drinking and driving is very dangerous.
It is.
And, because the reaction, and what's weird is the drunk person hardly ever dies. They kill people.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And then we're in blackouts. I had a little bit of blackouts at the end, but, they talk about being in blackouts, driving in blackouts, living in blackouts, being blacked out all day. What did I do yesterday? It's an insane, And like I talked to my brother and he's like, I only have 2 beers a day. You have 4 cases. That's reality. So I got this little saying, you can say anything, but it don't make it so.
Yeah.
Because alcoholics, it's like they're living in a fog, in denial. And thank God I didn't have a lot of denial. But my brother is like so in denial. He's like, and there's nobody home. I can look in his eyes and tell we're spiritually, mentally, and physically dead and bankrupt. And you know, people come into AA and they're like, well, I lost. You didn't lose anything. You gave it away. I heard a couple people in AA, they're like, you guys are brainwashing me. Hey, I needed brainwashed when I got here. Please brainwash me.
Yeah.
Because my thinking got me in jail, you know. I want to be brainwashed. Please brainwash me. You know, I want a new way of thinking.
Yeah.
And that's why I like the saying, change your thought, change your thinking, change your life.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to want to change, though. But
Right.
nobody can change you.
Yeah.
It's hard work. So if you don't want to change, you're not going to.
Yeah. That's why I say, you know, I stepped into AA and then I swear God just opened the gates and flooded me with blessings. He took them next 99 steps, but I had to get right inside and I had to be willing. I had to want to live more than I wanted to die, you know. And my brother's so far in denial, you know, you can't get in.
Yeah.
And he's had a lot of hurts. That's what kept me drinking. I'm like, poor me, you know. But, you know, I can drag him to AA and I can do this and I do that. But until and every once in a while, he reads the Bible every day and I feel sorry for him. But I say, is anybody home? You know, and once in a while, there's a glimmer in his eye. But then, you know. So I don't know. These are our three choices. This is what we get. We make these choices too. Some people don't believe that. We will either sober up, get covered up, which is die, or get locked up in mental institutions and jail.
Yeah.
Because we get so far gone. I mean, when I started into counseling, they said I was more homicidal than I was suicidal, but I was homicidal and suicidal. And they're like, you know, if a judge wanted to lock me up, I wouldn't blame him today. But then I was like, hey, you can't lock me up.
Yeah.
You know, my thinking is totally different today.
Yeah. The thing is, I think most people tend to think that they're in the right. I remember somebody did a study where they went and talked to prisoners and did a study, basically showed that everybody there that they talked to pretty much thought that they were in the right.
God conducts this world. You know, God already knows what I'm going to be doing in 20 years. So we don't get to know why. You know, my sister got murdered. I'm like, why did she have to live that kind of life and die that death? You know, and I'm sitting here miserable, not drinking, because that was a hard time where I really wanted to drink, but I think I wasn't too much into sobriety when my sister got murdered in the drug world, you know, and I just wanted justice. But he's got some cop people that covered up. He's got some people that, you know, my sister ain't the only one he killed. So I'm like, what the heck? But I'm going, why, God? Why? Until I can go, why, till I'm crazy. Mm-hmm. I don't get to know why. So, you know, when people go, why? Well, I don't know. You know, today I surrender every day, and I'm small and I'm right size, you know, and I'm a tool of God. Whatever he wants me to do today, that's what I'll do, you know. Yeah. If I can help a neighbor out, I'll help him out, or, you know, whatever God wants me to do, you know. And above all, I just wake up and my footwork is go to work, pay bills. It's real simple. Go to work, pay bills, be nice to all God's children. Yeah. Which is hard sometimes, but, you know, I mean, and, you know, it's just like, I don't know why I call them humanoids, you know. Some human people do just like bad things. I don't know why they do, you know, why they're like that. You know, like when I search back in my family history, you know, back in the 30s, it was okay to beat a kid bloody. Go take them to the woodshed. That's what they deserve. Really? Today they call it child abuse.
Yeah.
You know, I think a lot of things was happening back then, but now that we've brought the light into stuff, you know,
Yeah.
like say a sex offender, you know, a girl could get mad at her boyfriend and go, he raped me. Well, he's going to get arrested and he's going to become a sex offender. The next 13 years of his life is going to be living hell. But he's innocent. Does she get anything for lying? What happens to her? You know, like when my sister got murdered, I'm like, he's going to the pen. My brother says, vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. And I'm like, you know, I wasn't okay with that. I was there in 12 and a half hours. The only reason I didn't kill him is because I wouldn't be any better than him. I was like, okay, he did this crime. Don't make me want to. He is a child of God. You know, so instantly God came to my head. Does he deserve to die? Probably. But am I God? No. Do I want blood on my hands when I see my maker? No. So I'm only responsible for my behavior. I'm not going to commit a crime because he committed a crime. That's stupid to me.
Yeah.
You know. So, I don't know. I've been watching the dude and he goes through living heck, but he's still committing crimes and you know. And that's why I said, you know, people act like lives are dispensable now. Like they can just take another life. I'm like, that's a human being, you know. But I'm not them, and I don't know what's going to happen to them when they go meet their maker. You know, that's not my business today.
Yeah.
My business is I want my hands clean when I meet my maker.
Yeah.
You know, and I want, you know, God keeps me sober. God is love. God is good. And I am a vessel of him. So that's what I do today. I, you know, and someday maybe my Father will be proud of me. My Father in heaven, you know. You know, I mean, my dad, you know, did the best he could. And he was raised this way. So they raised their kids. And it's a generational thing, you know. There's alcoholism 4 generations back. That's how far back I could go.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, they beat their children and their children and they beat their children. Back in the old days, they had 10, 12 kids so they could work them on the farm. And if you wasn't good, you'd go get a switch and get beat. So good things are changed and bad things are changing.
Yeah. I think that people tend to see society as, oh, society's getting better or society's getting worse. I don't think so. It's just a big cycle.
Yeah. And history does repeat itself.
Yeah.
Know? And, you know, just like now, you know, you see on the news this little boy hit this girl on the butt. Now he's a sex offender and he's 8 years old. That's crazy. But, and my sponsor taught me, you know, you can title anything good and bad. Are you right? Who knows?
Yeah.
But I always say I'm not the judge.
Yeah.
You know. And I got to see that judge that sentenced me 7 years later. I was standing in line. And this wasn't for him. It was for me. You know, he called me a bad mother and all this. And I was trash. You know, that's the way he acted and he treated me. Mm-hmm. And I went up to him and I said, thank you for treating me like that because that got me sober. You know, was he right? Was he wrong? I don't know.
Yeah.
I just thank God he didn't put me in prison, but if I was going to prison, maybe I was helping people in prison, you know. Mm-hmm. It don't matter where I am. God could use me no matter what. You know. Thank God I didn't go to prison. I would have, 28 or whatever hours I was in jail, that was enough for me. I was just like, I'm taking another detour, you know. I mean, all them people I used to beat up in the bar, I want to make amends to them. But if I'm supposed to, because I don't know, in their part, they might shoot me or something, you know, I don't know.
Yeah.
So, you know, God knows all. So if I'm supposed to make amends to them, because I'm willing. I mean, there's lots of different amends, graveyard amends, spot check amends, you know. All I got to do is if I go outside and I throw a fit, I come back in my house. I know I'm in the wrong. I got to go find that person and make an amends. That's now amends, you know. Yeah. If I have a problem with somebody that's dead, I can go to their grave because I got to clean up the wreckage of my past and then go through my childhood to live right today. I can go to that grave and make an amends. Because I realized this. With my mom who left me, I didn't have to contact her. Me, God, and another human being. And I got right. I got right. I was holding a grudge from her. But then I can look at it like this. Hey, I didn't have a mom to tell me what to do.
Yeah.
Or I can look at it like, dang, I was the mom. I didn't even have a childhood. It's not what happens. It's how we think about what happens.
Yeah.
And just like I kind of can rewrite history, you know, I can go back as the spiritual being I am today, who I know God loves me. He's my Father. Look back at that through my eyes today. You know, my dad did what he did because that happened to him. You know, my mom did what she did. I don't have to understand it. It's not my path.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I just got to pay attention to what am I doing and go forth.
Yeah.
You know, through thick and thin and sickness, I took care of my kids. You know, I did my part, and I think that was even more stronger because my mom left me. I was bound and determined I was not leaving my kids. And I raised my kids.
Yeah.
You know, so it's kind of like, you know, I don't know why my sister died, but God does. I don't know why my mom left, but God does. You know, that's their stuff with them, where all I got is my path with God. And, you know, I don't know. I mean, he might, 10 years from now, I might be a preacher. I don't know what he's going to do with me, but
Yeah.
but I learned to trust him, whatever. Because usually when his will comes down, it's like, really, God? Looks crazy to me because it's not aligned with my will. And I'm like, you really want me to do this, God? You know, but I just do it. And then he just makes everything so smooth. It's like, no doubt. You know. I used to make a joke. I'm like, God's slow. Because I'd pray for something. But he's right on time because, say you're moving along and you want it right here. And it still ain't coming right here. But God makes it come here. And it's just like everything aligns just perfectly.
Yeah.
You know. It's amazing.
Well, thanks for being open and vulnerable. I appreciate it.
Yep. I just hope this video helps someone.